Is it something that should be prevented? Now I think the argument can be made that, this is someone who's expressing something to me, at the conclusion of treatment, and so be it, whereas if I decide I'm going to hug each client at the beginning and end of each session, okay, how does that fit with prevailing practice standards? How's that consistent with any treatment approach that I know of? And how would that be consistent with this person's treatment needs and so on? But there's sometimes when we have the ability to engage in a decision-making process, and other times we just sort of respond. But some of this you can be prepared for, and I think a lot of what we talk about through this webinar today will help prepare you for a number of different situations. You'll have, once you think about it, you have an idea about it, you'll be more prepared should it occur. So this is a New Yorker cartoon, and she says, look at the back, and had it inscribed. She says, and she said, it's inscribed, so you can't return it. Like there's some things going on here, and I said, well, I'm going to put it back in the box, and and the person knows that I was receiving supervision from the psychiatrist in my practice. I had talked about it, and they understood that I was needing my concerns and my need to understand this more, and so I said, I'm just going to put this in this drawer here, and I'll be talking further, with Dr. Harris, and we'll need to discuss this further. I'm truly not sure how I should proceed with this. And it became a focus of treatment. And then it turns out over time, we finally get to the point of that this is someone who their spouse was much, much older, having lots of health issues, a fear of that spouse dying, and the gift was basically a way to hopefully. And I'm spending time with the parent and getting to know them, and we're attracted, and and the question is, well, the child's my client. What's wrong with a personal relationship or social relationship with the parent? What are the implications for my client, the child? How might that be helpful or harmful or confusing to them? And how might it impact me in terms of how I provide treatment? And ethics codes each make it very clear that all, as I said before, all multiple relationships are not unethical, and all multiple relationships don't need to be avoided. Only those that hold a significant potential for impairment of our objectivity or judgment, or that have a potential for exploitation of or harm to the client. Proud about all these great investment tips, and suggestions, and winning this contest for their company because of all the money they're making for their clients, and said, oh, well, where do you keep your retirement plan? And the clinician's reaction was, oh, well, I have it invested in such and such. Like, oh, well, I could certainly help you have better returns. Now, who wouldn't want better returns? That sounds great. And I have to ask, how might it impact the primary treatment relationship if the secondary relationship of having a client be my stockbroker goes well or goes poorly? So if I make $100,000 in a week, how might that impact my objectivity and judgment? I think it would. And if I lose $100,000 in any amount of time, I think that'll impact my objectivity and judgment. But even if I make